The individual who witnessed her final moments within your household. The tropical fruit. What significance does this fruit hold? Medical examination disclosed its presence, though neither parent remembers providing it. I haven't personally reviewed the coroner's findings, but my comprehension suggests uncertainty exists regarding whether the material discovered in her system was indeed this particular fruit. My position remains that no such food was offered when we arrived from our friend's residence. The child was deeply sleeping. She was carried to her bedroom and properly settled. Pleasant dreams. All households harbor their mysteries. Yet certain mysteries carry such weight they require elaborate deception to hide them. For this distinguished American household, the arena for their devastating charade was Christmas evening, 1996. Central to this tragedy stood Patsy Ramsey, a former pageant winner whose existence appeared to prepare her for her ultimate portrayal, the devastated parent. Was this genuine? The document she created, an extraordinary 3-page kidnapping demand written using her personal writing instrument, might contain the truth. This evening, we examine more than mere evidence. We reveal the elaborate deception behind history's most compelling act. Understanding the individual responsible for this ransom demand requires returning to Parksburg, West Virginia. There, Patsy and Powell developed under her mother Nedra's guidance, who maintained that public perception determined everything. Within this environment, elegance, composure, and an impeccable reputation represented authority. From childhood, Patsy faced maternal pressure toward beauty competitions. She mastered commanding attention under bright lighting while enjoying audience appreciation. This journey, shaped by maternal expectations, culminated in her Miss West Virginia victory during 1977. This achievement transcended mere recognition, becoming her fundamental identity, an individual destined for performance and admiration. During her competitive years, Patsy's distinctive skill wasn't musical performance or choreography, but theatrical recitations. She gained recognition for material from the prime of Miss Jean Brodie, chronicling a magnetic yet manipulative educator who controls her select female pupils. This recitation became her trademark presentation, unknowingly foreshadowing the haunting parallels within her personal tragedy. Though pageant opportunities concluded, Patsy Ramsey discovered a more prestigious role. During 1980, she united with JonBenét's Ramsey, an accomplished entrepreneur and widower raising 3 children from his previous marriage. Together, they constructed their idealized family unit. Their son Burke arrived in 1987, followed during 1990 by a daughter named honoring both parents, JonBenét Patricia Ramsey. As John's professional success expanded, particularly through his Access Graphics leadership position within computer services, the Ramsey household relocated to Boulder, Colorado. They occupied an expansive 7,000-square-foot residence within the city's most prestigious district. Here, Patsy excelled in her chosen role as dedicated mother and prominent socialite. Her reputation centered on exceptional entertaining skills, coordinating elaborate holiday celebrations, charitable functions, and community pageant planning. Patsy's environment required constant brilliance, both literally and metaphorically. Nevertheless, beneath this flawless exterior, the burden of maintaining perfection never diminished. Close associates observed her relentless perfectionist tendencies. Minor disappointments, unflattering images, or substandard performances reportedly caused visible distress and agitation. This perfect exterior proved more fragile than appearances suggested, approaching its greatest challenge. During 1993, at 36 years old, Patsy received a stage 4 ovarian cancer diagnosis. This devastating news created a frightening period, forcing her to acknowledge life's fragility. She endured surgical procedures and intensive chemotherapy treatments. Though the condition eventually entered remission, many believe this brush with mortality permanently altered her character. It instilled profound fears about losing authority, intensifying her compulsion to manage and orchestrate every aspect of her existence. Her most perfect endeavor for channeling this energy and exercising control became her young daughter, JonBené. Associates noticed Patsy's heightened emotional investment in JonBenét's pageant pursuits following her cancer recovery. Perhaps this represented her method of managing fears surrounding a life she nearly lost control over. She personally created numerous elaborate costumes for her daughter, developed performance routines, and attended countless competitions. Some observers suggested she was recreating her former triumphs through her child. Others viewed it as innocent mother-daughter bonding over shared interests. Regardless, many questioned Patsy's level of involvement. JonBenet began competing at 4 years old, achieving numerous victories by age 6. Video footage showing JonBenet wearing heavy cosmetics, artificial hair, and ornate gowns generated public controversy even before the tragedy. Did this child genuinely desire such a lifestyle, or was this maternal ambition imposed upon her daughter? This question lingered ominously, foreshadowing the tensions quietly developing within the Ramsey residence. As 1996 concluded, the Ramsey family seemed more perfect than ever. They embodied wealth, achievement, and sophistication within the Boulder community. John's business had recently reached $1 billion in revenue. Patsy's cancer remained dormant, and JonBenet consistently earned pageant victories. Their residence blazed with holiday illumination, decorated like a magazine feature. Yet beneath all this glamour, stress was accumulating. Patsy Ramsey faced tremendous pressure. Though she consistently appeared radiant during social occasions, friends detected exhaustion and occasional frantic behavior. She was organizing her renowned Christmas celebration for over 100 attendees while managing JonBenét's intensive pageant commitments. Every garment, every hairstyle, every expression from her 6-year-old daughter during performances required perfection. Some friends remembered JonBenet appearing to enjoy herself, while others noted signs of fatigue and disinterest. They wondered if she was beginning to resist. This tension extended beyond pageant activities. At home, JonBenet had resumed bedwetting episodes. While typical for children her age, this reportedly frustrated Patsy significantly, a woman renowned for her cleanliness obsession and need for control. Rumors suggested Patsy showed little tolerance when circumstances deviated from expectations, with multiple sources mentioning her quick temper during stressful periods. Additionally, there was Burke, JonBenét's 9-year-old brother. The boy was becoming increasingly overlooked within his own household. While JonBenet commanded attention, Burke often remained in the shadows, overshadowed by the spotlight. During the family's grand Christmas celebration that year, Burke allegedly remained in his bedroom throughout the entire event. He wanted no involvement. Even the longtime domestic employee Linda Hoffman-Pugh observed changes. She informed investigators that Patsy seemed different that December, more distracted, overwhelmed, and irritable than usual. She characterized Patsy as someone who appeared exhausted. On December 25th, after opening holiday gifts, the Ramseys visited their friends, the White family. They shared dinner, exchanged seasonal greetings, and returned home sometime past 8:30 in the evening. The subsequent events remain among America's most disputed crime timelines. According to official accounts, JonBenet was sleeping upon their arrival. Patsy tucked her in a bed. Everyone else retired shortly thereafter. They intended to wake early the following morning for their vacation flight. However, JonBenet would never board that aircraft. The following morning, Patsy made a desperate emergency call, declaring her daughter had been abducted. A peculiar 3-page kidnapping demand was discovered on the kitchen stairway. Hours later, during the confusion created by friends and police presence at the residence, John Ramsey himself located his daughter's body within a seldom-used basement room. In subsequent days, all the minor fractures, Patsy's exhaustion, the bedwetting incidents, Burke's isolation, and the pressure maintaining a perfect image appeared as terrifying warnings. At the center of this chaos stood the most puzzling yet revealing evidence, the ransom note. This kidnapping demand differed from any experts had previously encountered. It transcended mere communication. It constituted a performance. Initially, its unusual length spanned 3 complete pages. A genuine abductor, operating under time constraints and discovery risks, would never spend nearly 30 minutes composing such a dramatic declaration. This is precisely what occurred. Investigators discovered a practice version on the identical legal pad, demonstrating careful rehearsal before creating the final draft. More remarkably, both the pad and writing instrument belonged to Patsy Ramsey, taken directly from inside the residence. Yet across all 3 pages, no usable fingerprints existed. Not Patsy's, not John's, no one's, not a single mark, no indication of urgency. It appeared suspiciously pristine, as if composed by a phantom. Examining the content, the theatrical nature becomes more evident. The note's language heavily references popular films like Dirty Harry and Ransom. It contains taunts and melodramatic phrases like, "Don't try to grow a brain, John." It reads like someone portraying a kidnapper based on cinematic experiences. However, the most revealing detail, one no outsider could have known, was the ransom figure, $118,000. This peculiarly specific, unusual amount nearly matched John Ramsey's recent Christmas bonus. The note also contained meaningless contradictions. It directed John to obtain the money and wait for additional contact. Yet it provided no telephone number, no meeting place, nor exchange instructions. It essentially represented a script lacking resolution, a document seemingly never intended for implementation. Nevertheless, the clearest personal identifier wasn't in the content, but the writing style. Handwriting analysts concluded Patsy Ramsey could not be eliminated as the author. At least one examination suggested high probability she had written it. But the note's tone proved most incriminating. It was infused with elements from the prime of Miss Jean Brodie, the very play that defined Patsy's pageant career. The parallels are disturbing. The word attaché, an uncommon term, appears in both the book and the note. An identical misspelling of possession. Most haunting, one of the play's crucial scenes involves a forged letter, which characters carefully examine. It appears that when creating a crime, one inevitably leaves personal traces. One's vocabulary, obsessions, and style. This note wasn't merely a ransom demand. It was a script written by someone possessing distinctly theatrical instincts. And that, perhaps, was its author's unmistakable signature. If the ransom note represented a psychological fingerprint, then Patsy's emergency call was deception exposed in real time. In numerous subsequent interviews, Patsy insisted on one point. She only read the opening line, "We have your daughter," then panicked, searched the house, and immediately contacted police. She maintained she never read the remainder. However, the audio recording reveals a different narrative. When the dispatcher inquires, "Do you know who took her?" Patsy responds, "I don't know. There's a ransom note here." Then she reads almost word for word from the signature at the document's end. It says, "SBTC, victory. There's a note left, and our daughter's gone." A crucial contradiction. If she only read the first line, how did she know the last? Her deliberate spelling of each letter suggests she was reading directly from the note, not recalling it from panicked memory. The initial deception had been revealed, but the most disturbing discovery remained hidden in the call's final seconds. After Patsy believed she had disconnected, audio experts analyzed and enhanced the recording. What they claimed to detect was chilling, whispered voices in the background. A male voice, a female voice, and a child's voice. This audio raised a shocking possibility. Burke Ramsey had not been sleeping soundly throughout the night, as the family consistently claimed. He was present. He was conscious. While those sounds remained debatable, the next evidence was undeniable scientific fact. The fibers, silent red threads that revealed a condemning narrative. Investigators found microscopic red fibers that analysis confirmed were perfect chemical and structural matches to the red wool jacket Patsy had worn the previous evening. Their discovery locations were particularly significant. They weren't randomly scattered throughout the room. They were located on the adhesive side of the duct tape covering JonBenét's mouth. They were discovered woven into the ligature used for strangulation. They were found within the paint tray, containing the broken paintbrush handle believed to be an assault weapon. This wasn't random contamination from an embrace. This represented direct, repeated physical contact with three of the most crucial instruments used in JonBenéт Ramsey's murder. Then there was Patsy's behavior that fateful morning. When police arrived, they noted she still wore the same clothing from the previous evening, the red turtleneck sweater and black pants. Her friends would later confirm Patsy, a former beauty queen obsessed with her appearance, never wore identical outfits on consecutive days. This was practically her unbreakable rule. Why on the most horrific day of her life did she violate this principle? Was she too shocked to notice? Or was it a calculated decision to avoid changing from an outfit that might contain incriminating evidence? The performance had become too complex and the flaws were expanding. So where do all these contradictions, physical evidence, and puzzling behaviors lead us? They point toward a theory that investigators and the public have debated for years. A scenario without an intruder, without kidnapping, but involving only a family tragedy concealed by a cruelly elaborate performance. It's recognized as the Patsy did it theory. According to this theory, JonBenét's death wasn't premeditated murder, but the tragic consequence of an uncontrollable rage episode. The scenario might have developed this way. Late that evening, or during the early hours of December 26th, JonBenet wet her bed. In a state of extreme fatigue and holiday stress, Patsy, obsessed with perfection and cleanliness, is believed to have lost control. A scolding escalated into physical action, perhaps a push, a strike, or a blow that caused JonBenét's head to hit the bathtub edge. A moment of lost control resulted in JonBenet suffering a fatal head injury. The pineapple bowl detail in the kitchen further complicates this theory. Pineapple was discovered in JonBenét's stomach, indicating she had consumed it shortly before death. Perhaps after the bedwetting incident, she went downstairs and ate some of her brother's pineapple, leading to an argument and Patsy's intervention. Whatever the catalyst, the result was an irreversible tragedy. Realizing her daughter was dead or dying, Patsy confronted a horrible truth. But instead of seeking help, the instincts of a woman who lived for her image took control. The theory suggests that perhaps with John's involvement or silence, a decision was made. They would not lose everything. They would not lose their reputation, their status, and most importantly, they would not lose their remaining child, Burke. Thus the performance commenced. Patsy, with the theatrical expertise of a former pageant winner, composed a 3-page ransom note filled with dramatic language borrowed from films. She selected the amount of $118,000, a figure only an insider would recognize, to add authenticity. Someone began cleaning up. JonBenét's urine-stained nightgown was found bundled in a bathroom, but they stopped. Perhaps they realized a scene too clean would be even more suspicious. Even the housekeeper, Linda Hoffman-Pugh, who had worked for the family for years, told investigators she believed Patsy was responsible. She described Patsy as emotionally unstable and capable of explosive behavior under pressure. Ultimately, the Patsy did it theory remains just that, a theory. No one was ever convicted, and no justice was ever served for JonBenet. The case was destroyed by a compromised crime scene, overlooked evidence, and a media circus. But while the legal truth remains buried, the questions about Patsy Ramsey and her role on that fateful night will persist forever. The curtain has fallen, but the performance continues because somewhere, someone knows exactly what occurred in that house. And that is the only truth that can ever truly bring peace to JonBenet. Whatever theory you accept, one thing is certain. The deeper you examine the details of the JonBenet Ramsey case, the more difficult it becomes to find a simple, complete answer. Was she a grieving mother misunderstood by the world, or a master performer in the most tragic act of her life? Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe Patsy Ramsey was responsible for her daughter's death? Was this an accident concealed by panic, or was it a deliberate scheme? What piece of evidence do you find most compelling? The ransom note, the red fibers, or the contradictory emergency call? Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you haven't already, Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We upload new true crime content daily, covering cases you know and many you don't. Stick with us as we bring you more stories that deserve to be heard. See you in the next video.